You know, when a kid is like, but why? But why? You know, so you answer a kid's question and then they're like, but why? And then you answer that question and they're like, but why? So it's like, it's one of those things that you got to ask yourself, okay? And that's why, you know, when a kid is doing that, a kid is asking for more clarity because maybe it didn't seem as clear with the explanation or answer that you were giving them. And it can seem as if it is a little bit of an annoyance, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, your clarity or your way of thinking is not the same way of thinking as your child. So sometimes, or you know, the child, so you have to sometimes, you know, put it in words or put it in a certain understanding or perspective that that child understands. And this could just also just be, you know, an understanding of something deeper. That is what your inner child or your way of discovery for yourself is. Okay, you have to ask yourself those questions. You know, why is it that I, you know, react this way? Why is it that I run away from these problems? Why is it that you got to dig deep? Okay, let's see what comes out here. Yeah. Adapt to transformation. Okay. Vortex of change. Some of you could be going through some changes, you know, some transformations, and you're like, why is this happening? You know, and in order to adapt and embrace this change, you have to understand the why. Okay. And sometimes that perspective, or you know, that answer that you may have gave yourself of why this is happening may not completely be as clear until you actually dig deeper and ask yourself, well, why is that? You know, like sometimes some questions or some things, you know, require more than one why. All right. One more to close this energy out here. Yeah. Vortex of creativity. This is a lot of vortex energy, so you can be feeling like you're just kind of spinning, because we have vortex of change, and then we have vortex of creativity. Okay, so with that, you know, the transformation and also creativity, you can feel as if you are lacking your creativity. You know, solar and sacral chakra can be significant. You know, lower chakras is significant, so root, sacral, and solar is significant. But yeah, so you know, you could feel as if you're not really sure of which way to go. You know, you don't really feel like you have the don't really feel as if you have the answers, you know. But this is all for your commitment. Okay, this is for you to make that commitment to yourself. This is for you to make that commitment to your transformation. Like I said, that but why, okay. So be committed to your transformation, and then you'll start seeing more of those creativity start to flowing in. Okay, peace and love, y'all.